Just to remind you that a presidential news conference at the White House usually reflects what White House correspondents want to ask the president. Doesn't necessarily reflect what the whole country is thinking about. At the news conference today, reporters were very intensely interested in how the president thought his administration was doing, amid all the accusations in Washington that the administration is sluggish at best. Here's ABC's Britt Hume.
Hard look at it.
The first question the president got at his news conference today was about criticism. His administration is going nowhere and doing little. He denied it.
So I would simply resist the clamor that nothing seems to be bubbling around, that nothing is happening. A lot is happening.
In fact, though, the notion that the Bush presidency is drifting, lacking either the policy or the personnel to direct it, is now very much in fashion in Washington. One reason is that many, indeed most, presidentially appointed positions across the government remain unfilled. Good morning, Mr. President. The problem is most acute at the Pentagon, where the only Bush appointee named is the embattled John Tower, and where a major policy review is being done by holdovers from the Reagan years. But even at the State Department, where Secretary James Baker was confirmed almost immediately by the Senate, only 6 of the top 29 jobs have been filled, and vacancies remain in such vital posts as Assistant Secretary for Inter-American Affairs, responsible for policy in such hotspots as Nicaragua and Panama. Much of the personnel delay is caused by an appointment and confirmation process that has become highly cumbersome, as the president himself has complained.
The ground rules have changed. I was talking to one of our appointees, and it told me that to fill out the forms required 36 hours. And the forms are different in different departments.
But some critics think the trouble is not just a lack of people, but a lack of purpose. At Yale University yesterday, Senator Edward Kennedy said the administration has no agenda, no real budget, and very little to say. It holds office, he said, but doesn't know what to do with it. The president strongly disputed that idea today.
In a very brief period of time, we addressed ourselves to a serious national problem of the S&L bailout regarding the budget. Sound proposals. I've taken a substantive foreign policy trip where I met with, I think, some 19 representatives of 19 countries. So I think plenty of substantive things are going on.
One thing the president did not say is that he's taking over from an administration he was part of and sees no need for wholesale change. But Washington is full of people who want things done their way, and a president who doesn't dominate with his agenda can find himself dominated by others with theirs. Britt Hume, ABC News, the White House.
Well, let's continue along with foreign policy for the moment. There was a formal meeting in Vienna today between the President's Secretary of State, James Baker, and his Soviet counterpart, Edward Shevardnadze. It was the first meeting of substance between the two men. It lasted for about 2 hours. They agreed to meet again in Moscow in May to discuss the prospects for a first summit meeting between President Bush and Mr. Gorbachev. And while we're still overseas, China today imposed martial law on the city of Lhasa in Tibet in an effort to put an end to a series of violent demonstrations by Tibetans seeking independence. Violence in the Tibetan capital Lhasa for the 3rd straight day. From the demonstrators, flying rocks and bottles. From the police, gunfire and tear gas. And yet reports of up to 30 dead and hundreds of wounded have apparently failed to stop marchers from parading the banned Tibetan flag and shouting for independence from China. China has claimed neighboring Tibet as its own since the 13th century. Communist Chinese troops have occupied Tibet since 1950. And this week marks the 30th anniversary of the massive uprising against the Chinese, which left thousands of Tibetans dead and their spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, in exile. From exile in India, the Dalai Lama has tried to negotiate with the Chinese for human rights and political autonomy. These Tibetans want more.
These Tibetans are not shouting for human rights or more religious freedom or anything of that kind. That what they are shouting for is independence from China.
Tibet gained independence from China for the first time in 1368. The Chinese, who claim they have been overly patient and tolerant this time, are not about to let it happen again. When we come back, we'll talk about John Tower, but just one more note from overseas. Iran today formally severed all relations with Britain because of their dispute over the book, The Satanic Verses. British officials today repeated the government position that the order by the Ayatollah Khomeini to kill the author Salman Rushdie violated basic principles of international relations, and said the diplomatic break was entirely of Iran's making. I said when we come back, John Tower.
Where does it hurt?
Here.
For indigestion and gas, your medical answer is Extra Strength Maalox Plus. Its doctor-recommended formula neutralizes more than any leading antacid. Ask your doctor about Extra Strength Maalox Plus.
There's a certain time of year when a person can think of nothing but going fishing. Fortunately, it's about that time Kmart can think of nothing but putting on the biggest fishing sale in America. The Kmart Fish America sale. It'll help you make history.
If they could see you now, they'd see you're having fun. Taking in the sights and playing in the sun. They won't believe that you are such a good sport. Buying all those gifts in a tropical port. All I can say is, wow, I'm having such a ball. What a friendship, holy cow. They'd never believe it if your friends could see you now.
Take a 3, 4, or 7-day cruise on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
In a place like this, what you bring with you is critical.
When 1,000 doctors were asked which one of these medicines they'd want along, the clear choice was Bayer.
I chose Bayer. Shouldn't you?
Bayer, the wonder drug that works wonders.
Rich stain and tough polyurethane protection in one. Polyshades by Minwax. Get a beautiful finish in half the time. A finish to be proud of. Polyshades by Minwax.
In Washington, John Tower picked up another important supporter today as another Democratic senator announced that he will vote for Tower's confirmation as Secretary of Defense. At the same time, opponents of the nomination seem more convinced than ever that they will finally prevail. Jim Wooten is on Capitol Hill.
Even with another Democrat deciding for Tower today, Dodd of Connecticut, Senate Republicans were still short of votes, and they played for time today, sending Rudman of New Hampshire to the floor for the longest and most spirited defense yet of Tower.
How many times do we hear of our State Department traveling around the world fighting for human rights? What about John Tower's human rights?
And for the first time, Democratic leader Mitchell began counting heads among the undecided, urging a final vote and questioning the continuing debate.
Why not a vote tomorrow? Why not a vote Thursday?
But Republican leader Dole, more irritated with each passing day, declined to call for a vote and instead challenged Democrat Hollings' characterization of Tower as Mr. Alcoholic Abuser.
And there's no evidence in that record that he's an alcoholic abuser, and you know there's no
absolutely
evidence
is, Mr. President. And he knows.
You wouldn't speak to anybody else in that way.
Senators don't usually speak to each other in that tone of voice, but this isn't business as usual. On a day when the president said not one senator has seen Tower drunk, Democrat DeConcini said he had.
I can't give you the date, but I've seen him right here, as I've seen other members.
Tower denied that tonight, but with two more Democrats, Graham and Conrad, deciding to oppose him, ABC News now counts 44 Democrats against his confirmation, with 8 leaning strongly against him and 3 undecided. So the arithmetic is not John Tower's friend, and that isn't likely to change no matter how long the debate lasts or when his former colleagues decide to vote. Jim Wooten, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
Other news today. In Colorado and New Mexico today, more than 50 people have been charged with illegal hunting. And this is not a report about occasional poachers. Federal wildlife agents have just concluded a sting operation, and the people they've arrested were hunting a whole range of birds and animals, including endangered species. There is also a question of whether federal agents went too far. Here's ABC's Charles Thomas.
The raid climaxed a 2.5-year investigation into commercial poaching in the remote San Luis Valley of southern Colorado and northern New Mexico. 57 suspects are in custody, most charged with selling illegally hunted wildlife to a federal agent who posed as a taxidermist. Among the animals sold for trophies and meat were elk, deer, and bear, and birds, including golden and bald eagles.
We were doing something to protect the wildlife of the valley. And we cannot allow people just to come in and destroy it, or the people who live there to commercialize it and not do anything about it.
Most of the alleged poachers live in one of the region's most economically depressed areas. Social workers admit that some people here have always used illegally hunted animals for food, but they also say the federal government made poaching profitable when its undercover agent set up a taxidermist shop and paid cash for wildlife.
People who have been traditionally unemployed find this all of a sudden ready market. Then they are encouraged to become illegal profiteers.
But the U.S. attorney denied using entrapment.
It appears to me that the propensity to traffic commercially in wildlife existed before the presence of the undercover federal agent.
The entrapment issue will have to be settled in court. If convicted, the alleged poachers could be fined up to $250,000 and sentenced to up to 5 years in prison. Charles Thomas, ABC News, Denver.
On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrials lost about 4 points, and the trading was moderate. In a moment, health and the family are on the American agenda. Why is infant mortality as high as it is in this country?
Doctors know that fiber laxatives are a better way to relieve constipation. Fiberol has more fiber than Metamucil.
Only Fiberol adds a second healthy fiber. Bran.
So try Fiberol, the one with more fiber.
Powder or wafer.
No tough sinus cold is going to sideline these guys. Congestion, pressure. New maximum strength Dristan is tougher to sweep away congestion, pressure, and pain. And it won't make you drowsy. When you can't call in sick, call on Dristan.
Feel your oats.
With Post Oat Flakes.
Feel your oats.
With Post Oat Flakes.
New Post Oat Flakes. Zero cholesterol. All the goodness of whole grain oats, including Oat Bran, in delicious golden toasted flakes. No one packs great taste and nutrition into an oat flake like Post. Feel your oats.
With Post Oat Flakes.
New Post Oat Flakes. Feel your oats.
For more than 80 years, people have come home to homes with Anderson windows. Come home. And while times have changed, our commitment to quality and to the home has not. Which is why today, more people come home to Anderson windows than any other.
Come home to quality. Come home to Anderson.
Ford. Profiles in quality, reliability.
The quality of today's Fords, Lincolns, and Mercurys is no accident. It's engineered into every car and truck we build. We bump before you bump. We open and close. We brake, we shake, we get in and get out. We freeze, we start. When your goal is to build the highest quality cars and trucks in the world, you don't do it any other way.
At Ford, Mercury, and Lincoln, quality is job one.
We have put an issue on the American agenda tonight which will make many Americans uncomfortable, for it deals with American standards, which in this case have been declining, and it compares those standards to those of other countries. And the U.S. comes off badly. The subject is infant mortality. The Children's Defense Fund said today that medical care for expectant mothers in America, prenatal care, is often so bad that many babies are unable to survive their first year of life. Here's ABC's Carol Simpson.
For as much as it has pleased Almighty God to take out of the world this little babe.
Delano Holliday was only 7 days old when he died. The baby boy was so sick he never left the hospital. His mother, Evelyn, believes he died because she had difficulty getting adequate care during her pregnancy.
Earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
Delano was buried with 2 other infants in a growing section of this Maryland cemetery called Babyland Garden. His name was added to the list of the 40,000 babies who die each year before they reach their first birthday. There are 17 countries which have lower infant mortality rates than the United States.
We have to be outraged that we rank where we do in the world. Unless the public gets just mad as hell about that, I don't think something will happen.
The question is why? Why does the United States rank so poorly when we have some of the best medical care and one of the highest standards of living in the world? Well, the answer is a lack of prenatal care. Proper prenatal care means that pregnant women get monthly medical checkups where doctors can monitor the health of the mother and the development of her baby. Women get advice on diet, nutrition, and exercise, as well as warnings about the dangers of smoking, drugs, and alcohol. Without proper prenatal care, babies are often born prematurely with low birth weights and serious health problems. Experts say that for every $1 spent on care before a baby's birth, $3 are saved on the cost of caring for a baby born sick. And very sick babies kept alive by machines can cost hospitals and taxpayers as much as $3,000 a day, and still many of them die.
And it burns up money that could be used much more effectively in prenatal care.
Who are the mothers who don't get proper prenatal care? Many are teenagers who don't go to the doctor out of ignorance, fear, or denial of their pregnancies. Others are drug abusers, carriers of the AIDS virus, or low-income women. But the vast majority of them are among the 14 million women of childbearing age who have no insurance to cover the cost of prenatal care.
Very many times, if you go to the relatively developed, industrialized nations, we don't see this many people who are not covered at all with any form of insurance.
Take Japan, for example, which had a very high infant mortality rate in the 1950s. It now has the lowest rate of any country. It has made the birth of healthy infants a national priority. The Japanese government mails an information booklet to every newly pregnant woman, and no matter what her income, she is guaranteed the health care she needs. Here at home, a national commission recently recommended that the United States do the same by expanding Medicaid, a federally funded health insurance program, to cover more poor women and children, and by establishing more prenatal programs like this one at the Washington Hospital Center. Here, pregnant women who don't have insurance pay an average fee of $1,300 for prenatal care and delivery. If they get all their monthly checkups and attend prenatal classes, they are entitled to as much as a $250 rebate.
What do you have to do to have a healthy baby?
As we've seen, the answer to that question is clear. What is not so clear is whether the United States has the national will to take the steps necessary to promote the birth of healthy American babies. Former Senator Lawton Childs, who chairs the National Commission to Prevent Infant Mortality, is leading the fight.
No country can long call itself great that doesn't take care of its children. And when a baby dies, the strength and the idea of this country dies. And I think that's a tragedy we can't afford.
Carol Simpson, ABC News, Hyattsville, Maryland.
Another way of looking at the economic incentive for doing the right thing, that report from the Children's Defense Fund today estimates that between now and the year 2000, the U.S. will spend $6 billion to care for underweight babies in just their first year of life. Money that could be saved if their mothers had proper prenatal care. We'll have our final report in just a moment.
Come on, Tyler. Hurry up, boy. Come on, Tyler.
When it's cold and rough outside,
Come on, Tyler.
Try something warm and creamy inside. Cream of wheat hot cereal or instant mix and eat. Their smooth texture always lets the taste come through.
Again?
2 warm ways to come in from the cold.
Sure, I want my vitamins, but I don't want to be here all morning. 1 glass of great-tasting Sunsweet prune juice gives me more iron and calcium than those other juices. Sunsweet, here's to your health.
New Chicken Gravy Train has great chicken taste. It's worth crowing about.
Sometimes looks can be deceiving. If this Serenity Guard looks too small to give you the bladder control protection you need, look again. Compact Serenity regular guards have a unique super absorbent system that protects where you need it most, locks liquid into a gel that can't leak. So if you're looking for effective bladder control protection, look for Serenity. It's the protection you need. Compact Serenity Guards from Johnson & Johnson.
Tonight on Nightline, unless we act, says Margaret Thatcher, life on this planet won't go on existing as we know it. A rare interview with Britain's Prime Minister tonight.
I finally hear this evening a phrase that caught our ear earlier today. You've heard the expression, how will it play in Peoria? Well, with the Texan in the White House, it was perhaps inevitable we'd get a regional variation. At his news conference today, Mr. Bush was asked if he was worried about criticism of his administration. Never get too uptight, said the president, about things that haven't reached Lubbock yet. Lubbock, Texas, that is, which piqued our interest. Just how was the president doing in Lubbock, and what was reaching there anyway? We asked Brian Rooney to go and check it out.
I talked to a fellow from Lubbock, Texas the other day, which is the best phone call I've made. And he says, all the people in Lubbock think things are going just great.
Lubbock, 190,000 people in the heart of the Texas cotton country. This is a modern town, but they still talk politics over barbecue.
I think he's doing a fine job, and I'm highly in favor of everything he said this morning.
That the president would prefer to test public opinion in Lubbock is not surprising. He won 69% of the vote here. But even in Lubbock, not everyone gives him an A for performance.
If I had to give the president a rating so far, I'd give him a C.
The president's sample of opinion was not scientific, and we should admit that neither is ours.
Well, I think he's made a good start. I'm in favor of several of the things that he's proposed. However, I do think that he should let John Tower sink or swim on his own merits.
Lubbock may be 2,000 miles from Washington, but they've got their ears to the ground out here, and they hear the rumbling from Washington.
Well, I'm kind of waiting for him to do something. He's kind of been over there in China when things was falling down around his ears. Well, he hasn't hardly been in there long enough to tell what he's going to do. He'll need a little more time to prove himself, I believe.
So, as yet, there's no statue of George Bush to replace the bronze bale of cotton in front of the Lubbock County Courthouse. George Bush may be president, but in Lubbock, cotton is still king. Brian Rooney, ABC News, Lubbock, Texas.
Just thought we'd check. That's our report on World News Tonight. I'm Peter Jennings. We'll be back tomorrow. Good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News, where more Americans get their news than from any other source.
What do you look for in a woman?
I look for someone who allows me to be a fool.
That's not hard.
What do you look for in a man? Or what are you looking for in there?
I'm trying to find the
There's a wristwatch there. You want that?
The lightweight Elite 5 amp with tools cleans everyday spots. Originally $120, now $85. At Macy's Great Hoover Cleanup Sale. Of course, there's some spots we don't do.
Still no word. Recently, 10 best-selling latex paints were brought together in an independent test to take the guesswork out of finding a quality flat wall paint.
Hot, huh?
Each was tested on the toughest quality measurement of all, scrub resistance. The winner?
Glidden Spread Satin.
Glidden Spread Satin. It outscrubbed them all, and it's on sale now. Glidden, your paint should be this good.
Now available at all Rickel do-it-yourself home centers.
Although copiers are getting more and more sophisticated every day, their copies will never be as good as the original.
Stars who fight for animal rights on Entertainment Tonight.
This is Jeopardy! Now entering the studio are today's contestants.
A restoration consultant from Concord, Massachusetts, Susan Hollis. A consultant from Kansas City, Missouri, Lou Graham. And our returning champion, a law clerk from Woodland Hills, California, David Gordy, whose two-day cash winnings total $25,100. And now, here is the host of Jeopardy, Alex Trebek.
Thanks, Johnny. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, folks. And welcome to another half hour of fascinating information in answer and question form. Because you don't remember me, I have tears on my pillow, Lou. That takes us to the end of this part. We're going to pause now for our first commercial message. Everybody on the plus side, and that's good news. We'll be back to chat with the three of you following this break.
What are people's reactions to Pan Am's spring sale?
That's good thinking. I'd say that's great. I'd go tomorrow.
Sign up my family.
Wherever Pan Am goes in the Caribbean this year, I'm going.
Oh, I'd say I'd grab it in a second.
Fly Pan Am more frequently. Well, I could take my in-laws as well.
Wow. I can't beat that. That's terrific.
Good deal. For reservations, call your travel agent or Pan Am. But do it before March 10th, because a sale like this doesn't last forever.
What American institution has entrance requirements so high they'll only accept straight A's? McDonald's breakfast sandwiches taste fresh because they're made with fresh cracked grade A eggs. You're looking at the reason McDonald's coffee tastes so fresh. It never gets a chance to sit around. McDonald's coffee tastes fresh because our coffee's always pouring.
This week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you can join Lucille Roberts for only $52 per year during our $52 for 52-week sale-a-thon. With your 2-year membership, there'll be parties and prizes and unlimited visits and universal equipment and diet plans and aerobics and circuit training and weights and pools and saunas and more for only $52 per year. But you've only got until this Thursday to get this $52 for 52 weeks special for a 2-year membership. So hurry to Lucille Roberts before this Thursday at 9 p.m. for the $52 for 52-week sale-a-thon before it's too late.
Why have so many stars made animal rights their pet project? Get the inside story on the fight for animal rights on Entertainment Tonight.
Tonight at 7:30, right after Jeopardy.
You think you're too young and too healthy to have a heart attack? So did they. Don't miss the next Sally. Tomorrow at 10 after Regis and Kathy Lee.
First player we introduced on the program today, we got as the result of a contestant search in the Boston area, WNEV country. To start Double Jeopardy following these commercials.
It's March, and your Jeep Eagle dealer is blowing away the competition. Get cash back on an Eagle Premier now. Plus factory-to-dealer incentives that could save you hundreds more. Get cash back or low financing on an all-new Eagle Summit. There's never been a better time to grab savings like these. But hurry, once these deals stop flying, it's all over till next March.
See your Tri-State Jeep Eagle dealer where you can always expect the best.
Please pay attention. This is not about wants or needs. When each layer is removed, a stronger self emerges. Desire, reflection, attraction. The unspeakable sense of simply knowing what is right for you. No one dresses a woman like Jonathan Martin.
Puerto Rico's colorful Lalo Live Festival is for Deborah Carty and you. Her Caribbean island home is alive with culture and excitement. Days of sun and luxury, and nights of romance. Deborah Carty, a former Miss Universe, invites you to fall in love with Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, the shining star.
Walking through a Dollar Dry Dock Financial Center is like walking into the future.
Good morning, Mr. Steele.
Each center provides direct access to stock and bond markets. professional brokerage services, the most advanced cash machines in America, help in choosing mutual funds, insurance, retirement plans, annuities, and much more. As a result, Dollar Dry Dock customers are doing more with their money. At any one of our financial centers, you can do more with your money.
Dollar Dry Dock, much more than a bank.
Lou took a look at the categories for this Double Jeopardy round and began smiling. He knows he's going to select first. He must be happy with what he's seeing. The player with the most cash will be the champion and will return to our show tomorrow. The others will get to enjoy these prizes.
For today's second-place contestant, Bassett brings to you one of the most beautiful entertainment centers designed to conveniently house all your video components for your enjoyment from Bassett. And Casio's attractive integrated music system featuring stereo rack, AM/FM radio, FM stereo, double cassette, semi-automatic turntable, and a vertical compact disc player furnished by Casio. Today's third-place contestant will receive Helbro Sports watches, hers with 14 genuine diamonds and his with 22. Unusual textured dial design carried over to the one-piece case and bracelet furnished by Helbros. And all contestants receive either the Jeopardy box game or the exciting new Jeopardy Challenger. Let you play along with our studio contestants right in your own home. And now, once again, here's Alex.
More than $20,000 earned by our three contestants as they get set for Final Jeopardy, in which the category today is World War II. Something for all of you to think about. We'll be back with a clue following this break.
If I didn't care more than words can say.
Someday, someone will convince you to try Kellogg's Nutri-Grain. 6 healthy whole grain cereals with no sugar added or preservatives.
Would all this be true if I didn't care for you?
Whole grain Nutri-Grain.